Naomi's hands trembled as she sat in her car, phone pressed against her ear. The parking garage was cold and empty, but she barely noticed. Adrian's voice had been brief. Check your email. You need to hear this now. She opened the audio file and her world shattered. So she has no idea about the 50 million? That was Derek's voice. Her husband of 6 years. The man she'd comforted through her father's death 3 months ago. None. The second voice made Naomi's stomach turn. Constance. Her stepmother. Richard was smart enough to hide the full extent from me, but I know it's there. The lawyer only read the basic will, but I've seen documents. There are companies, investments, properties. That little fool is sitting on a fortune and doesn't even understand what she has. Derek laughed. Actually laughed. Well, she won't have it for long. Your lawyer thinks we have a strong case to contest. 5 years of marriage to Richard should count for something. Once we split it, we can finally stop sneaking around. I'm tired of hotel rooms, Constance purred. When this is over, we can be together properly. Maybe travel. I'm thinking the French Riviera. First, we need to keep Naomi in the dark. She trusts me completely. I'll keep managing our joint accounts, moving money out slowly like I've been doing. By the time she realizes what's happening, we'll have everything lined up. Naomi's breath came in short gasps. She played it again. Then again. Each word was a knife. Her beautiful stepmother and her loving husband. Together. Plotting against her. While she grieved the only parent she had left. The recording continued. They discussed legal strategies, talked about their affair starting over a year ago, laughed about how naive Naomi was. Constance mentioned something about her father's medical care in those final months, about keeping Naomi away from him. Naomi turned off the recording. She couldn't hear more. Not yet. She looked at herself in the rearview mirror. Her dark brown eyes were red from crying, her natural curls pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked exactly like what they thought she was, a grieving, foolish daughter who didn't understand business or money or betrayal. But they were wrong about one thing. Naomi knew exactly what she had inherited. She'd met with her father's lawyer privately, away from Constance's prying eyes. She understood every company, every investment, every property. Her father had spent his last lucid weeks teaching her, preparing her, warning her that Constance couldn't be trusted. She just hadn't known about Derek. That pain was fresh and raw. She'd loved him, trusted him with everything, built a life with him. And all this time he'd been stealing from her, lying to her, sleeping with her stepmother, planning to take everything her father had worked his entire life to build. Naomi's phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Hey babe, working late again. Don't wait up. Another buzz. This time from Constance. Darling, I'm feeling so lonely in this big house. Would you like to come for dinner this week? We should talk about your father's estate. The big house. Her family home. The estate where she'd grown up, where her real mother had died when Naomi was 12, where her father had built his empire. Constance had moved in 5 years ago as Richard's new wife, and now she acted like she owned it. She didn't know that Naomi owned it. The deed was in Naomi's name, transferred months before Richard's death. Naomi deleted both messages without responding. Her hands had stopped shaking. Something cold and clear was settling over her. They thought she was stupid. They thought she was weak. They thought they could steal her father's legacy, destroy her marriage, and walk away rich and happy. She started her car. She had decisions to make, plans to create. But first she needed to understand everything. Every lie, every theft, every moment of their betrayal. Adrian had promised more evidence. Bank records, hotel receipts, photographs, more recordings. She would need it all. As she drove out of the parking garage into the bright afternoon sun, Naomi made herself a promise. They would pay for every lie, every betrayal, every moment they'd made her feel foolish for trusting them. But they would never see it coming. She would wear her grief like a mask. She would play the naive widow still crying over her father. She would let them think their plan was working, let them get comfortable, let them believe they'd won. And then she would take everything from them. Not with violence or rage, but with the same cold calculation they'd used against her. Her father had always said that business was like chess. You had to think 5 moves ahead. You had to know when to sacrifice a piece to win the game. Naomi had just learned she was playing chess with vipers. But they'd forgotten something important. Her father had taught her well. And now she controlled the entire board. They just didn't know it yet. As she pulled into her driveway, Derek's car was gone. Of course it was. He was probably at another hotel with Constance right now, planning her destruction, celebrating their cleverness. Let them celebrate. Let them think they were winning. Naomi walked into her house, sat at her kitchen table and opened her laptop. She pulled up the files Adrian had sent. Hours of evidence. Months of betrayal, all documented. She started taking notes. Names, dates, places, amounts. Every piece of the puzzle. By the time Derek came home at midnight, smelling of expensive perfume that wasn't hers, Naomi was in bed pretending to sleep. He slipped in beside her and she felt him relax, thinking he'd gotten away with it again. But in the darkness, Naomi's eyes were wide open. The game had begun. And she was going to win. 3 months earlier, the hospital room had been too quiet. Naomi held her father's hand, feeling how thin it had become. Richard Patterson had always been a strong man, built like an oak tree with hands that could fix anything. Now those hands were fragile, the skin almost transparent. "My golden girl," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Listen carefully. I don't have much time and there are things you need to know. Dad, don't talk like that. You're going to be fine." But Naomi knew she was lying. The cancer had spread too fast, too far. "Constance kept you away these past 2 months." His eyes, still sharp despite his failing body, locked onto hers. "She told the nurses I didn't want visitors. She said I was too tired to see you. But I always wanted you here, baby girl. Always." Tears streamed down Naomi's face. "I tried to visit. They said you were resting." "I know." She controlled everything. "My medication, my visitors, my phone. I couldn't reach you." He coughed and Naomi helped him sip water. "That's when I knew I had to act fast. I called Thomas, my lawyer. Changed everything." "Changed what?" "The will. The companies. Everything." Richard's grip tightened on her hand with surprising strength. "She married me for money, Naomi. I was lonely after your mother died and I was a fool. But I'm not a complete fool. I protected what matters. I protected you." Over the next hour he told her everything. The 3 companies he'd built from nothing. The real estate investments across 5 states. The stock portfolios, the art collection, the patents worth millions. All of it going to Naomi, his only child. $50 million, give or take, he said. "But it's not about the money. It's about what I built. What your grandfather started and I grew. It's your legacy now. Promise me you'll protect it." "I promise, Dad. And promise me you'll be smart. Constance will fight. She'll try to contest the will. She might." He paused, struggling for breath. "She might try to turn others against you. Be careful who you trust." "I will." "Even Derek," Richard said, and something in his voice made Naomi's heart skip. "I've seen how he looks at money, sweetheart. How he asks questions about my business. Just, be careful." Naomi had dismissed it then. Derek loved her, not her money. They had a good marriage. She'd been so naive. Richard died 2 days later, with Naomi beside him. Constance had been in the Bahamas, claiming she needed a break from the stress of caregiving. She'd barely been caregiving at all. The funeral was massive. Richard Patterson had been a titan in the business community. Hundreds of people came to pay respects. Constance played the grieving widow perfectly, dressed in designer black, dabbing at dry eyes with expensive handkerchiefs. Naomi had been numb, going through the motions. Derek had held her hand, whispered comforting words, handled all the logistics. She'd been grateful for his strength. Another lie she'd believed. The will reading happened 1 week after the funeral. Thomas Bradley, her father's lawyer for 30 years, sat in his oak-paneled office with Naomi, Constance, Derek, and several business associates present. Constance had dressed for the occasion in a cream suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She was 52 but looked 40 with the kind of maintenance that money could buy. Blonde hair perfectly styled, nails immaculate, skin smooth from regular treatments. She sat like she owned the room, confident and expectant. Thomas read through the preliminaries, then got to the heart of it. "To my wife, Constance Patterson, I leave the sum of $200,000 and thank her for her companionship during the past 5 years." Constance's face went white. "200,000? That's it?" Thomas continued without acknowledging her. "The entirety of my estate, including all business holdings, properties, investments and personal effects, I leave to my daughter, Naomi Patterson Green, in whom I have complete faith and confidence." The room erupted. Constance stood up so fast her chair fell backward. "This is ridiculous. I was his wife. I took care of him." "The will is legal and binding," Thomas said calmly. "It was updated 6 weeks before Richard's death, with multiple witnesses and a full mental competency evaluation." 6 weeks. Constance's voice was shrill now. He was dying. He wasn't in his right mind. The evaluation proves otherwise. Mrs. Patterson had complete mental clarity when he made these changes. Naomi sat silently watching Constance unravel. She felt Derek's hand on her shoulder, squeezing. Support or something else? I'll contest this, Constance hissed. I'll fight this will with everything I have. 5 years of marriage counts for something. You're welcome to try, Thomas said. But I should warn you that any contest will be expensive, lengthy, and unlikely to succeed. Richard was very thorough. Constance turned to Naomi, her beautiful face twisted with rage. You did this. You poisoned him against me. I didn't do anything, Naomi said quietly. Dad made his own choices. You manipulative little, Constance caught herself remembering the room full of witnesses. She grabbed her purse and stormed out, heels clicking violently against the marble floor. After she left, Thomas turned to Naomi. We need to have a private conversation. Just you and me. Derek started to object, but Naomi nodded. It's okay, honey. Why don't you wait in the car? This might take a while. Once they were alone, Thomas pulled out another file. Your father asked me to wait until Constance was gone. There's more. Much more. He spread documents across the desk. Corporate holdings. Real estate deeds. Investment portfolios. The numbers swam before Naomi's eyes. Patterson Industries alone is worth $23 million. Your father was the majority shareholder. Patterson Real Estate Holdings, another $15 million. Then there are the smaller companies, the properties, the investments. Conservatively, you're looking at $50 million. Maybe more. Naomi couldn't breathe. $50 million. Your father spent the last months of his life organizing everything for you. He created a transition plan. He lined up advisors. He made sure you'd have everything you needed to run this empire. Thomas paused. He also gave me this. He handed her a sealed envelope. Inside was a letter in her father's handwriting. My dearest Naomi, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't be there longer to guide you. But I trust you completely. You're smarter than you think, stronger than you know. Don't let anyone take what's yours. Not Constance. Not anyone. Build something even bigger than what I left you. Make me proud. I love you forever. Dad. Naomi read it 3 times, tears blurring the words. One more thing, Thomas said gently. Your father made me promise to tell you, watch your back. He was worried about Constance's influence. He thought she might try to manipulate people close to you. He specifically mentioned being careful about financial matters in your personal life. What do you mean? He was concerned about joint accounts, shared assets, anything that could be used against you. He suggested you might want to conduct a full audit of your personal finances. At the time, Naomi had thought it was paranoia. Grief making her father suspicious. Now, sitting in her kitchen 3 months later, staring at evidence of Derek's theft and betrayal, she understood. Her father had tried to warn her. And she hadn't listened. The week after the will reading, Derek had been different. Naomi noticed it in small ways first. The way he'd check his phone constantly, then tuck it away when she came near. The questions that seemed casual but weren't. So, did your dad's lawyer give you any paperwork? Like about managing the estate? Some. It's complicated. I'm still processing everything. Maybe I could help. You know I'm good with numbers and business stuff. Naomi had almost said yes. Almost handed over the files, the accounts, the access. But something held her back. A whisper of her father's warning. That's sweet, honey. But Thomas has it under control for now. There's a whole team. Derek's smile had slipped for just a second. Of course. I just want to help. He started working late more often. When Naomi called his office, his secretary would say he'd just stepped out, or he was in a meeting, or he'd left early. But he wouldn't get home until after midnight. Big client, he'd explain, kissing her forehead. You know how it is. She did know. Derek ran a marketing firm, boutique but successful. Or so she'd thought. One night, unable to sleep, Naomi went downstairs for water. Derek's laptop was open on the kitchen counter, forgotten in his rush to shower. She hadn't meant to look. But the screen showed their bank accounts. Their joint checking account, where both their salaries were deposited, had been slowly draining. Small transfers, 2,000 or 3,000 at a time, moving to an account she didn't recognize. Naomi's hands shook as she scrolled through the history. It went back months. Almost a year. $50,000, gone in careful increments. She heard the shower turn off upstairs. Quickly, she closed the laptop and went back to bed. Derek slid in beside her, smelling of expensive soap. You okay, babe? You're tense. Just missing Dad. I know. He pulled her close. It'll get easier. We have each other. Lies. All lies. The next day, Naomi opened her own private checking account. One Derek didn't know about. She transferred her portion of their savings into it. $50,000 that was hers, that she'd saved from her job as a graphic designer. She also called her bank and put alerts on all her accounts. Any transfer over $1,000 would require her direct approval. Derek noticed within a week. Hey, the bank called me. They said there was some kind of hold on our account. Oh yeah. I set up some extra security after Dad died. Just to be safe. With all the estate stuff, Thomas suggested it. Right. Smart. But his jaw was tight. That night, she heard him on the phone in his office. The door was closed, but she stood in the hallway listening. She's getting paranoid about money? Put some kind of lock on the accounts. Boss. I don't know. Maybe we need to move faster. Boss. No, she still doesn't know about the full extent. She thinks it's just the house and some cash. Boss. Okay. Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow. Naomi went back to their bedroom, her heart pounding. Who was he talking to? About her inheritance? About moving faster? She started paying attention to everything. The way Derek watched her when she checked her mail. How he'd ask about her meetings with Thomas. His interest in her father's companies, which she'd been quietly learning about through private sessions with her father's business managers. One Thursday, Derek said he had a client dinner. Might run late. Don't wait up. Naomi nodded, smiled, kissed him goodbye. Then she got in her car and followed him. He didn't go to a restaurant. He drove to the Grandview Hotel downtown, one of the nicest in the city. Naomi parked across the street and watched him walk into the lobby. He looked around nervously, then headed for the elevators. She waited 20 minutes, her stomach in knots. Then she saw Constance pull up in her white Mercedes. Her stepmother, dressed in a tight red dress and heels, walked into the same hotel. Naomi sat in her car until dark, watching the hotel entrance. Neither of them came out. She drove home and threw up in the bathroom. Then she sat on the floor, her back against the cold tile, trying to understand. Her husband and her stepmother. In a hotel. Together. The affair was one thing. Horrible, devastating, but comprehensible. But there was more to this. The phone conversation. The questions about her inheritance. The stolen money. They were working together. Planning something. Naomi pulled herself together, washed her face, and did something she never thought she'd do. She searched Derek's office. In the back of his file cabinet, hidden behind old tax returns, she found a folder. Inside were printouts about contesting wills. Notes about Richard's estate. A list of lawyers specializing in inheritance disputes. And a handwritten note in Derek's handwriting. C says 50M minimum. Could be more with property values. Need to move before she consolidates. See, Constance. 50 million. So they knew. Somehow they knew what she'd inherited. Naomi took photos of everything with her phone, put the folder back exactly as she'd found it, and went to bed. When Derek came home at 2 in the morning, reeking of perfume, she pretended to be asleep. But she wasn't sleeping. She was planning. The next morning she made a phone call. Thomas? It's Naomi. I need a recommendation. A private investigator. The best you know. Money is no object. Is everything all right? No. But it will be. I just need information first. Thomas gave her a name. Adrian Mitchell. Former FBI, now private. Discreet, thorough, expensive. Thank you, Thomas. And one more thing. Don't tell anyone we spoke. Not Derek. Not anyone. Of course. Naomi, your father would be proud of you. She wasn't sure about that. Right now she just felt broken and scared. But underneath the fear, something harder was forming. Her father had built an empire. He protected it for her. And she wasn't going to let thieves and liars steal it. Even if one of those thieves was her husband. Even if one of those liars was supposed to be family. Naomi met Adrian Mitchell in a coffee shop across town, far from anywhere she or Derek usually went. Adrian was in his late 30s, tall and solid, with observant gray eyes that missed nothing. Tell me everything, he said. And she did. The inheritance. The changed behavior. The money transfers. The hotel. The file in Derek's office. Her suspicions about Constance. Adrian took notes, asked questions, didn't judge. This will take some time, he said finally. A few weeks, maybe more. I'll need to document everything properly, legally. If this goes to court, we need evidence that will hold up. Whatever it takes. Whatever it costs. Your father was Richard Patterson? Yes. Adrian nodded slowly. I knew of him. Good man from what I heard. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. And I'm sorry you're going through this. He met her eyes. But we'll get you answers. And when we do, you'll have options. Legal options. Real power. Naomi left that meeting feeling something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Not for her marriage. That was dead, she knew. Not for any relationship with Constance. That had always been a lie. But hope that she could protect her father's legacy. Hope that she could fight back. Hope that she could win. 3 weeks later, Naomi sat in a different coffee shop, this time looking at a tablet Adrian had slid across the table. Before you look, Adrian said quietly, I want you to know. It's worse than you thought. Naomi's stomach dropped. How much worse? See for yourself. The first file was financial records. Derek hadn't just been stealing from their joint account. He'd opened credit cards in both their names, maxing them out and making minimum payments she knew nothing about. He'd taken out a personal loan using their house as partial collateral. Altogether, he'd stolen or borrowed nearly $120,000. Where did it go? Naomi whispered. Some to his business. His firm is failing. Has been for a year. He's lost his 3 biggest clients. He's behind on payroll, behind on rent. He's been using your money to keep it afloat. And the rest? Adrian pulled up more files. Hotels. Expensive restaurants. Gifts. All for Constance. He's been funding their affair with your money. The photos came next. Derek and Constance at restaurants, laughing. Walking into hotels, his hand on her back. Kissing in parking garages. The timestamps went back 14 months. 14 months. While her father was dying, her husband had been sleeping with his wife. There's more, Adrian said gently. Your stepmother. I dug into her background. Constance's real name was Connie Palmer. She'd been married 3 times before Richard. Each time to wealthy older men. Each time she'd received substantial divorce settlements or inheritances. There were rumors, never proven, that her second husband's fall down the stairs hadn't been accidental. The third husband had changed his will in her favor just before dying of a sudden heart attack. Is she? Naomi couldn't finish the question. A murderer? I don't know. Nothing was ever proven. But there's a pattern. And with your father. Adrian pulled up medical records. I got these through a contact. Legal but barely. Your father's medical care in his final months was controlled entirely by Constance. She fired his regular nurse and hired her own. She managed his medications. She restricted his visitors. The doctor said it was her decision. She had medical power of attorney. Yes. Which she convinced your father to give her 6 months before he died. But look at this. Adrian showed her a doctor's note from 8 months ago. Your father was responding well to treatment. The cancer was bad but manageable. He could have had another year, maybe more. But then his condition deteriorated rapidly after Constance took over his care. Naomi felt sick. You think she killed him? I think she sped things up. Whether through neglect or active harm, I can't prove. But the timeline is suspicious. And it fits her pattern. The room spun. Her father. Her stepmother might have killed her father. Naomi breathed. Adrian's hand was on her shoulder, steady. Breathe. We don't have proof. Not enough for criminal charges. But we have enough for other things. What other things? Elder abuse. Financial exploitation. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Constance has been accessing your father's accounts during his illness, moving money around. Small amounts, thinking no one would notice. And she's been meeting with lawyers about contesting the will. With Derek? With Derek. They have a lawyer, Bernard Hughes. Sleazy guy, specializes in will contests. They've been planning to file papers within the next month. Their strategy is to claim your father wasn't mentally competent when he changed the will, that you manipulated him against Constance. Naomi laughed bitterly. I barely saw him those last months. She made sure of that. Exactly. Which is why their case is weak. But they don't know that. They think they can win because they think you're naive and unprepared. What else do you have? Adrian opened another file. This one made Naomi's blood boil. It was a recording, audio from a device Adrian had planted in Derek's car. Derek and Constance talking. She's so trusting it's almost sad, Constance's voice said. She actually believes we're both here to support her through her grief. It's perfect, Derek responded. She has no idea about the business or the money. She's a graphic designer, for God's sake. She makes pretty pictures. Once we get control of the estate, we can do whatever we want. What about the marriage? Will you stay with her? Hell no. Once we have the money, I'm filing for divorce. I'll get half of everything in the settlement, then we split that with you. By this time next year, we'll be worth $25 million each. And free to be together. Finally. I'm so tired of pretending. She's sweet, but God, she's boring. You're exciting. Dangerous. That's what I need. Constance laughed. Just a few more months of playing nice. Then we destroy her. The recording ended. Naomi sat frozen, her hands clenched so tight her nails drew blood from her palms. There's more, Adrian said. Ours more. They're very confident. Very detailed about their plans. They've discussed how to manipulate you, how to isolate you from your father's business advisors, how to make you doubt yourself. How long have you been recording them? 2 weeks. Every conversation in Derek's car, and I've got devices in Constance's house too. She doesn't know you own that house, by the way. She still thinks it was your father's and that she has rights to it as his widow. For the first time since this nightmare began, Naomi smiled. A cold, hard smile. She's in for a surprise. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Strategy. Adrian leaned forward. You've got multiple options here. Criminal charges against Constance for elder abuse and fraud. Divorce from Derek on fault grounds, which means he gets nothing. Civil suits for the money he stole. Restraining orders. And you've got one major advantage they don't know about. What's that? You own everything. Not just your father's estate. You're now the majority shareholder in Patterson Industries, Patterson Real Estate Holdings, and Patterson Consulting Group. You control all 3 boards. You have the power to make business decisions that will affect both of them. Derek's marketing firm? About 70% of his remaining business comes from Patterson Consulting. Constance has been living off a generous widow's allowance she arranged with your father's accountant before the will was read. She doesn't know you can cut her off. Naomi processed this. Power. Real power. Not just money but control. I need to understand the companies, she said. Really understand them. Can you help me with that? I can connect you with the right people. Your father had loyal executives, people who worked with him for decades. They're waiting to meet you properly, not just the courtesy meetings after the funeral. They want to help you. Set it up. All of it. I want to know everything about every company my father built. Naomi looked at the tablet, at the photos of Derek and Constance, at the evidence of their betrayal. And I want to be ready. When I move against them, I want it to be devastating. What's your timeline? How long until they file to contest the will? 3 weeks, maybe 4. They're gathering more evidence of your supposed manipulation. Then we have 3 weeks. Can you get me more recordings? More evidence? Everything they say and do. Yes. And can you document every penny Derek has stolen? Every illegal thing Constance has done? Build cases for fraud, theft, elder abuse, everything? Already working on it. Naomi stood up. She felt different. Stronger. The grief was still there, raw and painful. But underneath it was something harder. Purpose. Direction. Thank you, Adrian. I don't know what I'd do without your help. You're tougher than you think, Adrian said. Your father knew that. That's why he trusted you with everything. As Naomi walked to her car, she felt her phone buzz. A text from Derek. Miss you, babe. Can't wait to get home to you tonight. Love you. She stared at it for a long moment. Then she typed back, love you too. See you soon. The lies came easier now. She was learning their language. Learning to be what they thought she was while becoming something else entirely. Something they wouldn't see coming. That afternoon, Naomi had her first meeting with her father's executive team. Thomas had arranged it at a private conference room downtown. 6 people waited for her. The CEOs of her father's 3 companies, the CFO, the head of legal, and the head of operations. They stood when she entered. Respectful. Curious. Some of them looked skeptical. She was young, only 28. Educated in art and design, not business. Richard Patterson's daughter, but could she be Richard Patterson's successor? Thank you for meeting with me, Naomi said, taking the seat at the head of the table. Her father's seat. I know some of you are wondering if I'm up for this. If I can run these companies. The CEO of Patterson Industries, a man named Frank Crawford who'd worked with her father for 20 years, spoke carefully. Miss Patterson, we all respected your father deeply. But these are complex operations. Perhaps some guidance, a transition period with experienced management. Would be a mistake, Naomi finished. Because it would signal weakness. And right now there are people waiting for me to show weakness. She told them about the will contest. About Constance and Derek's conspiracy. Not the personal details, but enough to make them understand the stakes. My father left me these companies because he trusted me. I'm asking you to trust me too. Not blindly. I know I have a lot to learn. But I'm asking for your support while I learn. Your guidance. Your honesty. Frank exchanged looks with the others. What do you want to know? Everything. I want to understand how each company operates. The major clients, the revenue streams, the challenges. I want weekly briefings from each division. I want to meet the key players. And I want to know if there are any connections between my companies and my husband's business. That last part made everyone sit up straighter. Derek Green's marketing firm? Asked Patricia Santos, the CFO. Yes. Patterson Consulting has been one of their largest clients for 3 years. Contract worth about $500,000 annually. How much of his business does that represent? Patricia pulled up her laptop. According to the research I did after your father's death, when I was reviewing all our contracts, about 70% of Green Marketing's current revenue comes from our contract. So if we canceled that contract, his business would collapse. Silence. Then Frank spoke slowly. Yes. Within a few months. Don't cancel it yet, Naomi said. But prepare the paperwork. I may need it soon. She saw the understanding dawn on their faces. This wasn't a grieving daughter playing at business. This was war, and she was preparing her weapons. One more thing, Naomi said. The house where Constance Patterson is currently living. The Patterson estate. Who owns it? Thomas spoke up from the corner where he'd been observing. You do. Your father transferred the deed to you 4 months before his death. It's yours free and clear. And Constance has been living there, spending money on maintenance and staff, treating it like hers? Yes. How much access does she have to my father's remaining accounts? Patricia answered. She was receiving a monthly allowance of $15,000 from the estate account. We've been automatically processing it since your father's death, as per the temporary provisions until the will was finalized. Cut it off. Immediately. And begin eviction proceedings on the estate. I want her out within 30 days. Thomas made notes. That's legally sound. It's your property. She has no right to be there. Naomi turned back to the executives. I'm going to fight for these companies. Fight to protect what my father built. But I need to know, are you with me? Really with me? Frank stood up. One by one the others followed. Your father was the best man I ever worked for, Frank said. He built something real, something good. If you're going to protect that, then yes. We're with you. All of you. They nodded, a chorus of agreement. Then let's get to work. I have a lot to learn and not much time. And when I'm ready, we're going to show some people that they picked the wrong woman to betray. Over the next 2 weeks, Naomi lived a double life. At home, she was the grieving daughter, the trusting wife. She smiled at Derek's lies, responded to Constance's false concern, played her part perfectly. Derek never suspected she knew anything. Constance called regularly with fake sympathy and real questions about the estate. Darling, I know this is difficult, but we really should discuss the financial situation. I am your father's widow. Surely I'm entitled to more than a pittance. Thomas is handling everything, Naomi would say. It's so complicated. I don't really understand it all. She could practically hear Constance's satisfaction through the phone. Perfect. Naive. Manageable. But away from them, Naomi was becoming something else entirely. She spent her days in conference rooms learning about Patterson Industries' manufacturing processes, Patterson Real Estate's property portfolios, and Patterson Consulting's client relationships. She attended board meetings, reviewed financial statements, asked questions until she understood every detail. The executives were impressed despite themselves. She was a fast learner, sharp with questions, and she remembered everything. Frank started bringing her into strategic planning sessions. Patricia taught her to read complex financial reports. You're a natural at this, Patricia told her after a particularly long meeting. Your father was right to trust you. Meanwhile, Adrian continued gathering evidence. Every few days he'd send her new files. The recordings were especially damning. In one, Derek and Constance discussed specific strategies for manipulating her. She's emotional about her father, Derek said. We can use that. Make her think any business decisions are too much stress. Convince her to hire management, then we control who gets hired. And I'll play the concerned stepmother, Constance added. Worried about her mental state. If we need to, we can suggest she's not competent to handle the estate. That's brilliant. Throw her own weapon back at her. They laughed together. Actually laughed about destroying her. Another recording caught them discussing her father's death with chilling casualness. "I almost feel bad," Derek said, though his tone suggested he didn't. "She really loved him. He was old and sick. I just helped things along." Constance's voice was cold. "The pain medication doses I suggested to the nurse were generous. You went peacefully. Better than suffering for another year. You're sure no one can trace it?" "The nurse quit and moved to Florida. I paid her well. And Richard's regular doctor never questioned it. Terminal cancer patients die. It's expected." When Naomi heard that recording, she had to leave Adrian's office and sit in her car for an hour, crying and raging. Her father. They'd killed him. Constance had murdered him, and Derek knew about it. "Can we use this?" she asked Adrian when she could speak again. "For criminal charges? Maybe. It's not a clear confession and the nurse is gone. But it's evidence. Combined with the medical records and the timeline, it might be enough to at least get investigators interested. Make it happen. I want her to pay for what she did to him." Adrian nodded. "I've already contacted a friend at the DA's office. Informally, no names yet. They're interested. But they want more evidence. They want proof the nurse was paid off, proof the medication was increased improperly. Can you find that?" "I can try." The nurse left a trail. Bank deposits, a new house in Sarasota. If Constance was the source, we can track it. Naomi also had Adrian investigate Derek's business more thoroughly. What he found was worse than she'd imagined. Derek hadn't just lost clients. He'd been embezzling from his own company, taking money from operating accounts for personal use. His business partner, a man named Jerome Washington, had no idea. Derek had been cooking the books for months. "Jerome's a good guy," Adrian reported. "Military veteran, honest businessman. He invested his life savings in this company. Derek's theft might bankrupt him too." "Set up a meeting," Naomi said. "Anonymous. I want to tell Jerome what's happening before Derek destroys him too." The meeting happened in a lawyer's office. Jerome was a big man with kind eyes, and when Naomi showed him the evidence of Derek's theft, she watched him age 10 years in 10 minutes. "I trusted him," Jerome said, his voice breaking. "We were friends. I was at his wedding." "I'm sorry," Naomi said. "I know how that feels." "What do I do?" "Protect yourself. File charges. Separate your finances from his immediately. I can refer you to a good lawyer." She paused. "And when this is over, if you want to rebuild your business, come. Talk to me. Patterson Consulting might be interested in contracting with an honest marketing firm." Jerome looked at her with gratitude and grief. Two people betrayed by the same man. "Thank you. And I'm sorry. About your marriage." "I'm not," Naomi said, surprising herself. "Not anymore. He showed me who he really is. That's a gift in a way." As the evidence mounted, Naomi felt the pieces falling into place. She had recordings of their conspiracy, financial records of Derek's theft, documentation of Constance's fraud, witness statements from medical staff about her father's suspicious death. She had power over their business interests. Derek through the Patterson Consulting contract, Constance through the estate allowance in the house. And she had one more advantage: they still had no idea she knew anything. Until the day Constance received her eviction notice. Naomi was in a board meeting when her phone started buzzing. Text after text from Constance. "What is this? Eviction notice? You can't do this. This is my home. Call me immediately. Your father would be ashamed of you. And finally, I'll fight this. You don't have the right." Naomi ignored the texts and continued her meeting. An hour later, Constance called. Naomi let it go to voicemail. When she listened to the message, Constance's voice was shaking with rage. "How dare you? This house is mine. I took care of your father here. I have rights. You're going to regret this, you ungrateful little—" The message cut off. Derek called next. "Babe, what's going on?" "Constance just called me in hysterics about the house. She says you're evicting her? There must be some mistake." "No mistake," Naomi said calmly. "The house is mine. Dad transferred the deed to me before he died. She's been living there without permission. I want her out." "But, honey, she's family. She's your stepmother. Can't we work something out?" "No. The decision is made." "Naomi, you're not thinking clearly. You're still grieving. Maybe we should talk about this." "I am thinking clearly. Perfectly clearly. For the first time in months." She hung up. Within an hour, Derek was home. He found her in the kitchen making tea, acting as if nothing unusual had happened. "We need to talk," he said. About what? About Constance. About the house. Babe, I know you're hurt about your dad's will, that he left her so little. But taking the house from her is cruel. It was her home too. Naomi turned to face him. Was it? Or was it always my family's home that she just lived in? That's not fair. She loved your father. Did she? Naomi kept her voice level, but inside she was screaming. She knew the truth. Knew Constance had murdered him. But she couldn't show that hand yet. Funny how she was in the Bahamas when he died. Funny how she kept me away from him those last months. Funny how she married him within 6 months of meeting him, when he was vulnerable and lonely. You're being unfair. Constance has always been good to you. Has she? Name one thing she's done for me that wasn't about getting closer to Dad's money. Derek's jaw clenched. You're changing. This isn't like you. Maybe this is exactly like me. Maybe you just never knew me at all. That night, Derek was on the phone in his office for hours. Naomi didn't need Adrian's recordings to know who he was talking to. They were regrouping, adjusting their strategy, planning their next move. Let them plan. She was 3 steps ahead. The next day, Constance's lawyer sent a letter demanding Naomi rescind the eviction. Thomas responded with documentation proving Naomi's ownership and Constance's lack of legal rights to the property. The eviction stood. Constance responded by filing papers to contest the will. Bernard Hughes, her lawyer, filed a motion claiming Richard Patterson had been unduly influenced by his daughter and was not mentally competent when he changed his will. It was exactly what Adrian had predicted. Right on schedule. Thomas called Naomi immediately. They filed. This is going to be a long legal battle. No, it won't, Naomi said. Because I have something they don't know about. What's that? Video evidence of my father's mental competency. Did you know Dad recorded videos in the hospital? Messages for me. He talked about the will, about his decisions, about Constance. He was completely lucid. Clear. Explained everything. Thomas was quiet for a moment. Richard never told me about videos. He gave them to me in his last days. Made me promise to keep them safe until I needed them. I think he knew Constance would try this. That changes everything. We can use those to destroy their case. Not yet. Let them commit to their story first. Let them claim Dad was confused and incompetent. Then we'll show the videos and prove they're liars. Thomas laughed. You're thinking like your father. He'd be so proud. Naomi hoped so. She hoped wherever her father was, he could see her fighting for his legacy. Fighting back against the people who'd betrayed them both. That evening she got a call from Adrian. We found the nurse. Constance's personal nurse who took care of your father. Her name is Sandra Mills. She lives in Sarasota now, like I said. And you'll never guess what I found. Tell me. Sandra deposited $50,000 in her bank account 3 days after your father died. Came from an offshore account traced back to Constance. And Sandra's daughter? She got a full scholarship to a private university. Guess who funded it? A charitable foundation that Constance controls. That's the payoff. That's the payoff. I spoke to Sandra. She's scared. She knows what she did was wrong. With the right pressure, I think she'll testify. Can you arrange that? Already working on it. My contact at the DA's office is very interested now. They're opening an investigation into your father's death. Naomi closed her eyes. Justice. Finally. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you for trusting me with this. Your father deserved better than what happened to him. Yes, he did. After hanging up, Naomi sat in her car. She'd started parking down the street from her house, a habit formed from her secret life, and let herself feel it all. The grief, the rage, the betrayal, the determination. She'd spent weeks playing weak, playing naive, playing the role they expected. But she wasn't that person. She'd never been that person. She was Richard Patterson's daughter. And she was about to show everyone exactly what that meant. The board meeting of Patterson Industries was Naomi's first as official majority shareholder and acting chair. She'd been attending meetings before, but always as an observer. Today was different. She walked into the conference room wearing one of her father's favorite colors, deep blue, in a suit that was professional, sharp, and unmistakably powerful. The 12 board members stood as she entered. Some with respect, some with curiosity, a few with barely concealed skepticism. Thank you for being here, Naomi began, taking her seat at the head of the table. I know some of you have concerns about my ability to lead these companies. I'm young. My background is in design, not manufacturing or real estate or consulting. And I've only been actively involved for a few weeks. Jonathan Price, one of the older board members and someone who'd been close to her father, spoke carefully. Miss Patterson, we all respected Richard. But running a multi-million-dollar operation requires experience. Which I'll gain, Naomi interrupted smoothly. With your help and guidance. My father trusted me with this responsibility. I'm asking you to trust his judgment, even if you don't yet trust mine. What exactly do you plan to do? Asked Helen Morrison, a sharp-eyed woman who ran the real estate division. What's your vision? Protect what my father built. Grow it. But first, clean house. Naomi opened her folder. I've spent the last 3 weeks reviewing every contract, every client relationship, every vendor agreement across all 3 companies. And I've found several that need immediate attention. She pulled out the first document. Patterson Consulting has a contract with Green Marketing, owned by Derek Green. That's my husband. The contract is worth $500,000 annually and represents 70% of his company's revenue. The work provided has been substandard for the past year. Multiple clients have complained. Project deadlines have been missed. Quality has declined. Frank, the CEO of Patterson Consulting, nodded. I've documented those issues. We've been considering termination but wanted to wait until after. Well, given your relationship with Mr. Green? Terminate it, Naomi said. Immediately. I want it done today. We'll contract with Jerome Washington's new firm instead. He's splitting from Green and starting fresh. He's honest, talented, and his prices are better. Silence around the table. They were processing this. She was ending her husband's main source of income without hesitation. There's more, Naomi continued. Patterson Real Estate has been paying monthly fees to an estate management company for the Patterson family home. $5,000 a month for landscaping, cleaning, maintenance. The company is owned by Constance Patterson, my stepmother. She's been paying herself to maintain a house she doesn't own, using my company's money. Helen Morrison looked outraged. I didn't know she owned that company. She set up the contract through a subsidiary. That's fraud, Naomi finished. Cancel that contract too. And I want a full audit of any other contracts or payments that might benefit Constance directly or indirectly. If she's stealing from my companies, I want to know about it. Jonathan Price leaned forward. You're declaring war on your own family. They declared war on me first. They just didn't tell me. Naomi met his eyes. I know you all wonder if I'm strong enough for this. Let me be clear, I will protect these companies and everyone who works for them. I will make the hard decisions. And I will not let personal relationships compromise what's best for the business. My father didn't build this empire so thieves could loot it. Frank smiled. Actually smiled. Your father used to say exactly that. Business is business. Sentiment is separate. Then let's do business. Naomi pulled out the strategic plans she'd been working on with each division head. For the next 2 hours, they went through proposals for expansion, new client acquisition, operational improvements. Naomi had done her homework. She asked intelligent questions, made thoughtful suggestions, and showed she understood the business at a fundamental level. By the end of the meeting, even Jonathan Price looked impressed. One last thing, Naomi said as they prepared to adjourn. Constance Patterson has filed a lawsuit to contest my father's will. She's claiming he wasn't mentally competent when he changed it. This is a frivolous lawsuit and it will fail. But during this process, I need all of you to be very careful about any contact with her or her representatives. Document everything. She's going to try to find evidence of mismanagement or incompetence on my part. Don't give her anything. Understood, Frank said. For what it's worth, you've proven yourself today. Your father trained you well. After the meeting, Patricia pulled Naomi aside. That took courage. Cutting off Derek's contract. He's going to be furious. He's going to be a lot of things before this is over. Naomi checked her phone. Already 3 missed calls from Derek. And I'm ready for all of it. That night, Derek came home like a hurricane. What the hell did you do? He slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. You canceled our contract? You're destroying my business. Naomi looked up from her laptop calmly. Your business was already destroyed. You've been running it into the ground for a year. Missing deadlines. Losing clients. The Patterson contract was the only thing keeping you afloat, and even that work was substandard. Substandard? I've been working my ass off. Have you? Or have you been too busy with other things? She let the question hang, watching him process it. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm making business decisions based on business reasons. Personal relationships don't factor in. Derek stared at her like she was a stranger. Who are you? You've changed. Ever since your father died, you've been different. Calculating. Maybe I've just stopped being blind. Blind to what? To a lot of things. Naomi closed her laptop. Derek, our marriage is broken. You know it? I know it. Maybe it's time we stop pretending. She watched fear flash across his face. What are you saying? I'm saying I think we need some space. Some time apart to figure out what we really want. You want a separation? I think it might be best. For both of us. Derek's expression shifted from fear to calculation. She could see him thinking. If they separated now, before he and Constance got the inheritance lawsuit settled, he'd have no access to any of it. He needed to stay close. No, he said, forcing his voice to soften. No, babe. We're just stressed. You're grieving. I'm dealing with business problems. We can work through this. We love each other. Naomi wanted to laugh. Or cry. He was still lying. Still playing his part. Okay. If you think so. I do. We just need to communicate better. Be more supportive of each other. He moved closer, reaching for her hand. She let him take it, though her skin crawled. I'm sorry I got angry. You're right about the business. I haven't been managing it well. I'll do better. Okay. And about the contract. Maybe we can work something out? I could improve the quality, bring in new people. The decision is made, Derek. I'm sorry. His jaw tightened again, but he controlled it. Right. Of course. Business is business. He left the room, and minutes later she heard him on the phone in his office. Urgent, angry whispers. Calling Constance, no doubt. Telling her the plan was falling apart. Naomi smiled to herself. They had no idea how far apart it had already fallen. The next morning, Constance showed up at Patterson Industries. She swept past security. They didn't stop her because they didn't know they should, and barged into Naomi's office. Naomi's new office. Her father's old office. She'd moved in just yesterday. Large windows overlooking the city, rich wood furniture, walls lined with her father's awards and achievements. What do you think you're doing? Constance demanded. She was dressed immaculately as always, but her eyes were wild. The house, the contracts, Derek's business? Are you trying to destroy everyone? No, just protecting what's mine. Naomi didn't stand. Didn't give Constance the satisfaction. You shouldn't be here. I have every right to be here. Your father built this company. Yes, he did. And he left it to me. Not you. You got your $200,000. That's all you're entitled to. That's not enough. I was his wife. I took care of him. Did you? Naomi let the question settle. Because the medical records say otherwise. They say you isolated him, controlled his medication, kept his daughter away. That's not care. That's control. Constance's face went pale. I don't know what you're implying. I think you do. And I think other people are starting to figure it out too. Investigators, for instance. You're bluffing. You have no proof of anything. Don't I? Naomi opened her desk drawer and pulled out a folder. She didn't show Constance the contents, just let her see it existed. You'd be surprised what proof I have. About a lot of things. Medical neglect. Financial fraud. Conspiracy. Payoffs to nurses. Offshore accounts. Constance's mask cracked. For just a moment, Naomi saw real fear. Then rage replaced it. You spoiled little brat. You think you're so smart? You think you can just take everything and I'll walk away? I don't think you'll walk away. I think you'll fight. You've already filed your lawsuit. But you'll lose. And when you do, you'll face consequences. Legal consequences. I'll destroy you first. I'll tell everyone you manipulated your father. I'll show what a conniving little. Security. Naomi pressed the intercom button on her desk. I need someone in my office, please. I have an unwanted visitor. 2 security guards appeared within seconds. Miss Patterson? Please escort Miss Palmer from the building. Naomi used Constance's real name deliberately. She's no longer welcome on any Patterson property. Add her to the restricted list. You can't do this. I own the building. I can do exactly this. Goodbye, Constance. As security led her stepmother away, Constance turned back with pure venom in her eyes. This isn't over. You'll regret this. No, Naomi said quietly. You will. After Constance was gone, Naomi's hands started shaking. She'd done it. Confronted her directly. Shown strength instead of weakness. Her phone rang. Adrian. I just got a call from my DA contact, he said. They're ready to move forward. They want to interview you about your father's death. They want to know everything. When? Tomorrow. Can you do tomorrow? Naomi looked at the folder on her desk. Inside were copies of all the evidence. The medical records. The nurse's bank statements. The timeline. Everything they needed to prove what Constance had done. Yes, she said. I can do tomorrow. This is really happening, Adrian said. They might actually charge her. Good. She deserves it. She deserves to pay for what she did to him. After she hung up, Naomi sat alone in her father's office. Her office, and let herself cry. Not from weakness. Not from fear. But from relief. She was fighting back. Finally, truly fighting back. And she was winning. Naomi sat across from Detective Rachel Williams and Assistant District Attorney James Chin in a stark interview room downtown. The video camera's red light blinked steadily, recording every word. Thank you for coming in, Miss Patterson, Detective Williams said. She was in her 40s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. We've been reviewing the evidence your investigator provided. It's compelling. My father deserved justice, Naomi said simply. Walk us through his final months, Adrian requested. Specifically his medical care and who controlled it. For the next 2 hours, Naomi detailed everything. How Constance had gradually taken control of her father's care. How she'd convinced him to give her medical power of attorney. How she'd fired his longtime nurse and hired Sandra Mills, someone with no connection to the family. How she'd restricted Naomi's visits, claiming Richard was too tired or too sedated. The medications increased significantly in those last weeks, Detective Williams noted, reviewing files. Far beyond what the oncologist recommended. Constance claimed he was in more pain. That he needed higher doses for comfort. Naomi's voice caught. But when I finally saw him, when I snuck past the nurses during Constance's trip, Dad was lucid. Weak but aware. He told me he hadn't been in that much pain. He told me something was wrong with his medications. He specifically said that? Yes. He said the pills made him foggy, made him confused. He asked me to check with his doctor. But before I could, Constance returned and cut off my access again. Dad died 3 days later. Adrian made notes. And the nurse, Sandra Mills? Received $50,000 3 days after my father's death. From an offshore account we've traced to Constance. Sandra's daughter also got a full scholarship from a foundation Constance controls. These aren't coincidences. We've subpoenaed Sandra's financial records, Detective Williams said. And we've contacted her. She's agreed to speak with us. She'll tell you the truth, Naomi said. She's scared. She knows what she did was wrong. They went through more details. The timeline of Richard's decline. The suspicious improvements when Constance was away. The rapid deterioration after she returned. The medical records showing discrepancies between what was prescribed and what was administered. This is elder abuse at minimum, Adrian said. Possibly negligent homicide. Possibly more, though that's harder to prove without a confession. What happens now? We continue investigating. We interview Sandra Mills formally. We review all medical records with forensic experts. If we believe we have enough for charges, we'll present to a grand jury. Detective Williams looked at Naomi with something like sympathy. This will be a long process. And it will be public. Are you prepared for that? I am. My father deserves justice whatever it takes. As Naomi left the police station she felt lighter. The truth was out. Professionals were investigating. Constance would face real consequences. Her phone buzzed. A text from Thomas. Bernard Hughes filed emergency motions. They want expedited hearings on the will contest. Pushing hard. Naomi called him back. Why the rush? They're panicking. Derek's business is collapsing. Constance's money is running out. They need a win fast or their whole plan falls apart. Let them have their expedited hearing. How soon? 2 weeks. Judge Reynolds agreed to fast-track it given the estate's complexity. Perfect. That gives us time to prepare. And time for them to commit to their lies on record. You're enjoying this, Thomas observed not unkindly. Is that wrong? They tried to destroy me. They killed my father. Yes, I'm enjoying watching them fail. Your father would understand. He could be ruthless when necessary too. That evening, Naomi attended a charity gala. One of her father's companies was a major sponsor, and her absence would be noticed. She wore a stunning emerald dress and held her head high, knowing people were watching, whispering, speculating about the will contest and her stepmother's eviction. Naomi. Constance's voice carried across the ballroom. She was there too, dressed to kill, playing the wronged widow for the crowd. How lovely to see you, dear. The fake sweetness was for the audience. Everyone within earshot turned to watch. Constance. Naomi's voice was cool. I do hope we can resolve our little misunderstanding about your father's estate. Surely we can come to an agreement without all this unpleasantness. There's nothing to agree on. The will is clear. But your father wasn't clear, was he? Near the end he was so confused. You know that, darling. You saw how the medication affected him. Naomi smiled. A cold, knowing smile. Actually, I have videos of Dad from those final weeks. Before you increased his medications. He was perfectly clear. Perfectly lucid. Explaining exactly why he was leaving everything to me and nothing to you. Constance's face went rigid. You're lying. Am I? I guess we'll find out in court. Naomi turned away, ending the conversation. But she'd done what she needed to. Now Constance knew the videos existed. She'd panic, make mistakes, possibly even try something desperate. And Naomi would be ready. Derek was waiting when she got home. He'd been drinking, she could tell immediately. Angry and sloppy. You're destroying everything, he said. My business is done. Jerome took all my good employees. Clients are canceling left and right. I'm bankrupt. That's not my fault. You ran it into the ground yourself. Because you cut off our biggest contract. Because the work was substandard. I made a business decision. Business decision. He laughed bitterly. Everything's business with you now. What happened to my wife? The sweet, caring woman I married. She woke up, Naomi said. She realized her husband was stealing from her. Her stepmother was using her. Everyone was lying to her face. Derek went still. What are you talking about? I know, Derek. I know everything. The affair. The plan to contest the will. The conspiracy with Constance. The money you've been stealing from our accounts. All of it. The color drained from his face. You're paranoid. Grief is making you. Stop. Naomi pulled out her phone and played one of Adrian's recordings. Derek's voice, clear as day, discussing strategy with Constance. He listened in horror. When it ended, he looked at her with something like fear. How long have you known? Long enough. Long enough to gather evidence. Long enough to protect myself. Long enough to make sure you get nothing when this is over. Naomi, I can explain. Don't bother. I've heard all your explanations on tape. Hours of them. You and Constance planning my destruction. Laughing about how naive I am. Discussing how to steal my inheritance. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. Naomi stood up. I'm filing for divorce, Derek. Tomorrow. On fault grounds. Adultery, theft, fraud. You'll get nothing. No settlement, no alimony, nothing. And I'm pressing charges for the money you stole from our joint accounts. You're going to face criminal prosecution. You can't do this. Watch me. She walked toward the stairs, then paused. Oh, and I've changed the locks. You have 1 hour to pack a bag and leave. After that, security will remove you. You're not welcome in this house anymore. This is my house too. Actually, it's not. It's in my name. Always has been. My father insisted on it before we got married. He didn't trust you even then. I should have listened to him. Derek's face twisted with rage. For a moment she thought he might get violent. But then he seemed to crumple. Naomi, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but I love you. No, you don't. You never did. You loved my father's money. You thought I was your ticket to easy wealth. But you were wrong. He tried a different approach, his voice turning pleading. What about 5 years together? What about our history? The good times? Were they good? Or were they lies? Naomi felt surprisingly calm. You've been planning this for over a year. Maybe longer. Every sweet word, every supportive gesture, every moment of our marriage, how much of it was real? Derek had no answer. That's what I thought. 1 hour. Then you're out. She went upstairs to the guest room where she'd been sleeping for the past week. She locked the door and listened to Derek moving around below, packing, making angry phone calls. Probably to Constance, telling her everything had fallen apart. 55 minutes later, she heard the front door slam. His car started, tires squealing as he drove away. Naomi walked through the house, her house, checking each room. Empty of Derek's presence. Silent. Safe. She'd done it. Actually done it. Confronted him, expelled him, taken control. Her phone rang. Adrian. Just making sure you're okay. I've been monitoring Derek's phone. He called Constance. They're meeting tonight at her lawyer's office. Emergency meeting. They're panicking. Yes. Which makes them dangerous. Be careful. I am. Security system is armed. Locks are changed. I'm not afraid of them anymore. Good. Because tomorrow we go on the offensive. We file your divorce papers. We submit all our evidence to the court. We show them what we've got. And then we watch them fall apart. After hanging up, Naomi poured herself a glass of wine and stood in her kitchen, looking out at the night. Tomorrow would be difficult. The divorce filing would be public. The evidence would be part of the record. Everyone would know about Derek's affair, his theft, his conspiracy. But she was ready. More than ready. She'd spent weeks preparing for this. Gathering evidence. Building her case. Positioning her pieces. Now it was time to strike. And when she was done, Derek and Constance would have nothing. No money, no power, no credibility. Just consequences. Exactly what they deserved. The morning Naomi filed for divorce, the news spread through the city's business community like wildfire. Not just because of who she was, Richard Patterson's daughter, head of a $50 million empire, but because of how she filed. Fault divorce. With evidence. Thomas had prepared the filing beautifully. It was a legal document, but it read like a crime novel. Adultery with proof. Financial fraud with bank records. Conspiracy to commit inheritance fraud with recordings. Every allegation backed by solid evidence. The recordings were particularly damaging. Thomas had included transcripts of key conversations between Derek and Constance. Their affair. Their plans to contest the will. Derek's admission of stealing from their joint accounts. Constance's casual discussion of helping along Richard's death. By noon it was all over the news. Patterson heiress files explosive divorce, alleging affair with stepmother. Business mogul's daughter accuses husband and widow of conspiracy. Recordings reveal plot to steal $50 million inheritance. Naomi's phone wouldn't stop ringing. She turned it off. She'd prepared statements through Patterson Industries' PR team. Professional, measured, focused on protecting her father's legacy and seeking justice. But she didn't personally speak to reporters. She didn't need to. The evidence spoke for itself. Derek's world collapsed first. Within hours of the filing becoming public, his remaining clients canceled their contracts. His business partner, Jerome, filed a separate lawsuit for embezzlement and fraud. The bank froze his accounts pending investigation of the stolen funds. By evening, green marketing was officially closed. Done. Destroyed. Adrian sent updates throughout the day. Derek's at a hotel downtown. Constance met him there an hour ago. They were seen arguing in the lobby. Hotel staff said it got heated. What about Constance? Her lawyer, Bernard Hughes, withdrew from her will contest. Officially cited conflict of interest and new information that affects the case. Translation. He read the evidence and knows he can't win. He's probably worried about his own license if he continues representing obvious fraud. So she needs a new lawyer? Good luck finding one. Every reputable attorney in the city has seen those filings by now. No one wants to touch this case. Naomi felt a grim satisfaction. Everything was working. Every piece falling into place. The will contest hearing was in 1 week. Constance would either find a new lawyer willing to proceed with a hopeless case, or she'd have to withdraw. Either way she'd lose. That evening, Naomi held an emergency board meeting at Patterson Industries. All 3 companies' executives attended. I want to address the situation directly, Naomi began. You've all seen the news. My personal life has become very public and it reflects on these companies. I want to assure you that this will not affect our operations or our strategy. Frank spoke carefully. Actually, Miss Patterson, the response has been surprisingly positive. Social media is full of support for you. People admire how you're handling this. Fighting back, protecting your father's legacy. It's good PR, frankly. Patricia nodded. Our stock prices are up. Patterson Industries shares increased 8% today. Investors see strength, decisiveness. They like it. Naomi hadn't expected that. Really? Really? You're not hiding. You're not playing the victim. You're showing that these companies are run by someone strong, someone who won't be pushed around. That's exactly what investors want to see. Helen from real estate added, I've had 3 clients call today saying they specifically want to work with us now because of you. They respect how you're handling this. It was surreal. Her marriage was ending in spectacular public fashion. Her stepmother had tried to steal her inheritance, and somehow it was helping business. Thank you, Naomi said. Thank you. But let's stay focused. I want to accelerate our expansion plans. Patterson Industries, I want to look at acquiring that manufacturing facility in Tennessee we discussed. Patterson Real Estate, move forward on the Denver project. Patterson Consulting, I want proposals for entering the healthcare consulting market. They went through strategies for each initiative. Naomi had been studying the business thoroughly, and her suggestions were sound. Ambitious but sound. You're thinking like an empire builder, Frank observed. Like your father. My father built these companies from nothing. I'm just trying to honor that. And prove that his faith in me wasn't misplaced. After the meeting, Naomi returned to her office. Adrian was waiting. We have a problem, he said. Naomi's stomach sank. What kind of problem? Constance found a lawyer. Gregory Turner. He's not reputable. He's known for taking impossible cases and using dirty tactics. Harassment, intimidation, procedural manipulation. He'll drag this out, make it ugly? Can he win? No. But he can make you miserable trying. And he's expensive. Constance must be spending her last money on him. Let him try. We have the evidence. We have the videos of Dad. We have everything. I know. But Turner's already filed motions to depose you, to review all your financial records, to question everyone who knew your father. He's going for a war of attrition. Trying to exhaust you, bankrupt you with legal fees. He doesn't know I have $50 million. I can fight as long as necessary. And he doesn't know about the criminal investigation into Constance. That's our ace. Naomi smiled. When do they plan to arrest her? Soon. Detective Williams said they have enough for charges. Elder abuse, fraud, possibly negligent homicide. They're just waiting for the grand jury indictment. Could be any day now. Before the will hearing? Possibly. Wouldn't that be something? Constance showing up to contest the will while under criminal indictment for killing the person who wrote it. It would be justice. Perfect poetic justice. That night, Naomi went home to her empty house. No Derek. No lies. Just silence and space. She poured wine and sat in her father's study. His books lined the walls. His awards and photos filled the shelves. She'd barely touched this room since he died, afraid it would hurt too much. But tonight it felt right. She picked up a photo of her father in his prime, standing in front of the first Patterson Industries building. Young, strong, determined. Building something that would last. I'm trying, Dad, she whispered to the photo. I'm fighting for what you built. I hope you're proud. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Derek. Please, we need to talk. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But please don't do this. Don't destroy me completely. I'm begging you. Naomi stared at the message for a long moment. Part of her, the part that had loved him, that had trusted him, wanted to feel sorry for him. But she remembered the recordings. His voice laughing about how naive she was. Planning to steal from her. Betraying her with her stepmother. She deleted the message without responding. Another text minutes later. This one from Constance's number. You think you've won. You haven't. I'll take everything from you. Your reputation, your companies, your dignity. You'll regret ever crossing me. Naomi actually laughed. Constance was threatening her? No. When everything was falling apart around them, she forwarded the message to Detective Williams with a note. More evidence of her character. Threatening and harassing. Then she blocked both numbers. The next morning brought news. Big news. Grand jury returned indictments, Adrian said when he called. Constance Palmer is being arrested today. Elder abuse, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, fraud, and negligent homicide. 4 counts total. When? Police are picking her up this morning. It'll be all over the news by afternoon. Naomi sat down, overwhelmed. It was happening. Actually happening. There's more, Adrian continued. Derek's being charged too. Embezzlement from his business, theft from your joint accounts, conspiracy to commit fraud. He'll be arrested later today. Both of them. Today. Both of them. And here's the beautiful part. Their bail hearing will likely be before the will contest hearing. So if they want to fight your father's will, they'll be doing it while facing criminal charges. It was almost too much to process. Justice, real justice was happening. Thank you, Naomi said. Thank you for everything you've done. Just doing my job. But Naomi? You did this. You were the one who was brave enough to fight back. Who gathered the evidence, made the hard decisions, stayed strong. This is your victory. After hanging up, Naomi went to her office. She had work to do, companies to run, decisions to make. She couldn't spend the day celebrating. Not yet. But she allowed herself a moment. One moment to feel the satisfaction of knowing that the people who'd betrayed her, who'd killed her father, who'd tried to steal everything, They were finally facing consequences. Real, serious consequences. By afternoon, the arrests were public. News vans camped outside the courthouse. Reporters narrated every detail. Constance Palmer, widow of business magnate Richard Patterson, was arrested this morning on charges including elder abuse and negligent homicide in connection with her husband's death. Derek Green, husband of Patterson heiress Naomi Patterson Green, faces embezzlement and fraud charges. The arrests come just days after explosive divorce filings revealed an alleged affair between Palmer and Green, and a conspiracy to contest Patterson's will. Naomi's phone rang constantly. Reporters, business associates, acquaintances she hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone wanted a statement, a comment, an interview. She ignored them all. Let the legal system work. Let the evidence speak. That evening she received an email from Thomas. Constance's attorney withdrew completely. She appeared at her arraignment without representation. The will contest is effectively dead. She has no lawyer, no case, no evidence. It's over. Over. Naomi read the email 3 times. The will contest was over. Her inheritance was secure. Her father's legacy was protected. And the people who tried to steal it were facing prison time. She should feel triumphant, victorious. Instead she felt tired, and sad, and strangely empty. Because winning didn't bring her father back. It didn't erase the betrayal. It didn't heal the wounds. But it was justice. And justice mattered. Naomi stood and walked to the window of her office, looking out over the city. Her city now. Her father's empire, now hers to build and protect. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The criminal trials. The divorce proceedings. Running 3 companies and proving she deserved her father's faith. But tonight she allowed herself to rest. She'd fought the battle. And she'd won. The war wasn't over. But this victory was hers. And her father would be proud. The courtroom was packed for Constance's preliminary hearing. Naomi sat in the front row, flanked by Thomas and Adrian. Reporters filled the back rows, cameras outside waiting for any footage they could get. Constance was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit. No designer clothes now. No perfect hair and makeup. She looked small, diminished. When she saw Naomi, her face contorted with rage. "This is your fault." Constance screamed across the courtroom. "You did this. You destroyed me." "Order." Judge Martinez banged his gavel. "Miss Palmer, control yourself or you'll be removed." Constance's public defender, a harried young woman clearly overwhelmed, tried to calm her client. But Constance shook her off. The prosecutor, Ada Chin, presented the evidence methodically. Medical records showing Richard's suspicious decline. Financial records showing the payoff to nurse Sandra Mills. Sandra's testimony, she'd flipped, agreed to cooperate in exchange for a lesser charge, detailing how Constance had instructed her to increase Richard's pain medication beyond prescribed levels. "She told me he was suffering," Sandra testified, her voice shaking. "She said it was mercy keeping him comfortable. But he would ask me why he was so tired, why he couldn't think clearly. I knew something was wrong. But she paid me $50,000, and I needed the money for my daughter's education. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Constance's lawyer tried to cross-examine, but weakly. There was no good defense. The evidence was overwhelming. Judge Martinez ruled that there was sufficient evidence for trial on all charges. Bail was set at $500,000. Money Constance no longer had. Her $200,000 inheritance was frozen pending the outcome of the criminal case. She'd remain in custody until trial. As Constance was led away, she locked eyes with Naomi one last time. "I hope you're happy," she hissed. "You've taken everything from me." "No," Naomi said quietly. "You took everything from yourself. You killed my father. You tried to steal his legacy. This is just justice." Derek's hearing was 2 days later. His case was more straightforward. Theft, embezzlement, fraud. The evidence was financial records and those damning recordings. Jerome testified about Derek's embezzlement from their company. "He was my friend. My partner. I trusted him with my life savings. And he stole from me. From our employees. From everyone who believed in us." The prosecutor played excerpts from the recordings. Derek and Constance discussing their plan. Derek admitting he was stealing from Naomi. Laughing about her naivete. Derek sat with his head down the entire hearing. He didn't even try to defend himself. His lawyer entered a not guilty plea, but everyone in the courtroom knew it was hopeless. Bail was set at $200,000. Derek couldn't make it. He'd lost everything, his business, his home, his assets. He went to jail too. As he was led away, he looked at Naomi. Not with rage like Constance, but with something like regret. Or maybe just self-pity. "I'm sorry," he mouthed. Naomi looked away. His apology meant nothing. Too late, too little, too insincere. The will contest officially ended the following week. With Constance in jail and no attorney willing to continue the case, the court dismissed it entirely. Richard Patterson's will stood as written. Naomi inherited everything legally and completely. Thomas took her to dinner to celebrate. "Your father would be incredibly proud of how you handled this." "Would he?" "I destroyed my marriage. Sent my stepmother and husband to jail. Made everything public and messy. You protected his legacy. You fought for justice." "Yes, he'd be proud." Thomas raised his glass. To Richard Patterson and to his remarkable daughter. They toasted. Naomi felt the finality of it. The legal battles were over. Won. Completely won. But the emotional battles were still being fought in her heart. Over the next few months, the criminal trials proceeded. Constance went first. The prosecution was thorough, presenting expert testimony about the medical records, financial evidence of the payoff, and Sandra's testimony about the medication increases. Constance's defense tried to argue that she'd simply been trying to manage Richard's pain, that Sandra had misunderstood, that everything was innocent. But the evidence was too strong. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Elder abuse. Financial exploitation. Fraud. Negligent homicide. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Martinez looked at Constance with clear disgust. "You took advantage of a dying man. You isolated him from his daughter. You hastened his death for financial gain. And then you tried to steal from his daughter too. Your actions were calculated, cruel, and inexcusable." 12 years. Constance got 12 years in prison. She'd be nearly 65 when she got out. Her beauty would be gone. Her money was gone. Everything she'd schemed and murdered for, gone. Naomi attended the sentencing. She'd written a victim impact statement, and the judge allowed her to read it. "My father was a good man," Naomi said, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. "He built businesses that employed hundreds of people. He was generous with his community. He loved deeply and lived honestly. And in his final months when he was vulnerable and sick, you used him. You isolated him from the people who truly cared about him. You hastened his death. And then you tried to steal what he'd built for his daughter. You didn't just take his life. You tried to take his legacy. But you failed. My father's legacy lives on in the companies he built, in the people he employed, in the daughter he raised. You have nothing. And you deserve nothing. 12 years isn't enough for what you took from me, but it's justice. And I'll take it." Constance was led away in chains. She didn't look back. Derek's trial was quicker. He pled guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. 5 years for embezzlement and theft. Naomi didn't attend his sentencing. She'd said everything she needed to say in her divorce proceedings. The divorce was finalized a month after his guilty plea. She got everything, the house, her inheritance secure, no obligations to him whatsoever. He'd written her letters from jail. At first she'd thrown them away unread. But curiosity got the better of her and she'd opened one. "I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. I was weak and greedy and stupid. I threw away something real for a fantasy of easy money. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to know that I'm sorry. Truly sorry. And I hope someday you find someone who deserves you. Because I never did." Naomi had read it once, then filed it away. Maybe someday it would matter. Maybe someday she'd feel something other than anger and betrayal when she thought of him. But not today. A year after her father's death, Naomi stood in the restored Patterson family estate. She'd moved back into the house where she'd grown up, the house Constance had tried to claim. She'd redecorated, removing all traces of Constance. The house felt like hers again. Like home. Adrian stopped by that evening with final reports. Constance's appeals were denied. Derek's halfway through his sentence at a minimum security facility. "It's really over." "It's really over," Naomi echoed. "How are you doing?" "Really?" Naomi considered the question. "I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. The companies are thriving. Patterson Industries just landed its biggest contract ever. Real estate is expanding into 3 new markets. Consulting is breaking records. That's professional. What about personal?" "Personal is harder," Naomi admitted. "I'm still angry sometimes. Still hurt by the betrayal. But I'm also free. I'm not looking over my shoulder. I'm not wondering who to trust. I'm not grieving anymore, at least not the same way. Your father would be proud. Everyone keeps saying that. I hope it's true. Adrian smiled. It is true. You took an impossible situation and turned it into victory. You protected his legacy. You brought criminals to justice. You built something even bigger than what he left you. That's not just pride, that's legacy. After Adrian left, Naomi walked through her house. Her father's photo was on the mantel, the same one she'd talked to in his study. She picked it up. We did it, Dad, she whispered. We won. Your companies are safe. Your legacy is secure. And the people who hurt you are paying for it. I hope wherever you are, you can rest now. I hope you're at peace. She set the photo down and looked out the window at the city lights. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new battles to fight. But tonight she could rest too. She'd fought for justice and won. She'd protected her father's empire and made it stronger. She'd survived betrayal and come out the other side. She was Richard Patterson's daughter. And she was exactly who she was meant to be. Strong, capable, unbreakable, and finally at peace. 18 months after her father's death, Naomi stood on a stage at the Grand Hotel ballroom. 200 people filled the room, business leaders, employees, community members, press. She was announcing the launch of the Richard Patterson Foundation, a charitable organization dedicated to supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs from disadvantaged backgrounds. Initial funding, $10 million from her personal inheritance. My father built his empire from nothing, Naomi said into the microphone, her voice confident and clear. He started with a small manufacturing shop and a dream. He believed that with hard work, integrity, and opportunity, anyone could succeed. This foundation honors that belief. We'll provide seed funding, mentorship, and resources to entrepreneurs who have the dream but not the means. We'll help build the next generation of business leaders. The applause was thunderous. Patterson Industries had become a powerhouse under Naomi's leadership. In 18 months, she'd expanded operations, acquired 2 smaller companies, and increased revenue by 30%. Patterson Real Estate had developments in 6 states. Patterson Consulting had become the go-to firm for corporate restructuring in the region. Naomi Patterson Green, she dropped the green recently, going back to just Patterson, was now a name that commanded respect. Business magazines featured her on covers. Forbes had listed her in their 30 Under 30 issue. She was invited to speak at conferences, to sit on boards, to advise startups. She'd become exactly what her father had hoped, a worthy successor to his legacy. After the foundation announcement, Naomi mingled with guests. Frank and Patricia were there, beaming with pride. You've exceeded every expectation, Frank said. Your father would be amazed. I had good teachers, Naomi replied warmly. Adrian appeared at her side, looking handsome in a dark suit. Over the past year, their relationship had evolved from professional to personal. It had been slow, careful, both of them wary after Naomi's devastating betrayal. But it was real. Built on trust, honesty, and genuine connection. You were amazing up there, he said, handing her a glass of champagne. Thank you for being here. Always. They'd started dating officially 6 months ago, after Naomi's divorce was finalized. Adrian had been patient, supportive, never pushing. He'd seen her at her worst, broken and betrayed, and stayed anyway. Not because of her money or her name, but because of her. Have you heard the news about Constance? Adrian asked quietly. No. What now? She's being investigated for her second husband's death. The one who fell down the stairs. New evidence came forward after her conviction. They're reopening the case. Naomi felt a chill. She really did kill before. Looks like it. She might never get out of prison now. It should have felt like victory. But mostly Naomi just felt sad. So much destruction. So much evil. All for money. And Derek? She asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Getting out in 3 years on good behavior. He's been a model prisoner, apparently. Taking business courses, working in the prison library. Good for him, I guess. Do you ever think about reaching out? Closure? No, Naomi said firmly. He made his choices. I've made mine. We don't need closure. We need distance. Adrian nodded, understanding. He never pushed her to forgive or forget. He accepted her anger and her boundaries. Later that evening, after the gala ended, Naomi and Adrian walked through the Patterson estate gardens. She'd had them restored to how they looked when her mother was alive. Roses everywhere, a small fountain, benches under old oak trees. I have something to tell you, Adrian said, sounding nervous. Naomi's heart skipped. What is it? I got a job offer. Security consulting firm in New York. It's an amazing opportunity. More money, bigger cases, chance to build something. Naomi felt her chest tighten. New York. Yeah. 3,000 miles away. He took her hands. But I'm not taking it. What? Why not? Because everything I want is right here. You're here. Your companies are here. Your life is here. And I want to be part of that life if you'll have me. Naomi felt tears forming. Adrian, I can't ask you to give up your dreams for me. You're not asking. I'm choosing. You're worth choosing. She kissed him then there in the garden under the stars. It was different from kissing Derek. There was no doubt, no hidden agendas, no lies. Just honesty and affection and choice. I love you, Adrian said when they pulled apart. I know it's maybe too soon or too complicated, but I do. I love you. I love you too, Naomi whispered. And I'm terrified. Why? Because I trusted Derek. I loved him. And he destroyed me. What if I'm wrong again? What if you? I'm not Derek, Adrian interrupted gently. I've seen you at your worst and your best. I know who you really are, strong, brilliant, fierce, kind. I'm not interested in your money. I make my own. I'm not intimidated by your success. I'm proud of it. And I'm not going anywhere unless you tell me to. Naomi leaned into him, feeling safe for the first time in 2 years. Really safe. Don't go anywhere. Stay. Please stay. Then I'm staying. 6 months later, Naomi opened the Patterson Business Center, a state-of-the-art facility providing office space, equipment, and resources for foundation grant recipients. 20 entrepreneurs had received funding in the first year. 5 businesses had already launched successfully. One of them was Jerome Washington's new marketing firm. He'd rebuilt after Derek's betrayal, and his company was thriving. You gave me a second chance, Jerome told Naomi at the center's opening. I won't forget that. You earned it. You're talented and honest. That's all that matters. Standing in the center, surrounded by entrepreneurs working on their dreams, Naomi felt something she hadn't felt in years. Complete joy. Not just satisfaction or relief or victory. Actual joy. Her father had built an empire. She'd protected it, grown it, and now she was using it to help others build their own dreams. This was legacy. This was purpose. This was what it had all been for. Adrian found her later looking thoughtful. I have something for you. He handed her a small box. Inside was a key. What's this? Key to my apartment. I'm giving up the lease. Moving into the estate with you if that's okay. Naomi smiled. Really? Really? I'm tired of splitting time between 2 places. I want to wake up next to you every morning. Come home to you every night. Build a life together properly. Yes, Naomi said. Yes, absolutely yes. They were taking it slow, but they were building something real. Something based on truth and trust and choice. 2 years after her father's death, Naomi sat in her office reviewing quarterly reports. Patterson Industries had just been named one of the fastest growing companies in the region. Real estate profits were up 40%. Consulting had opened offices in 3 new cities. Her personal fortune had grown to nearly $70 million. But it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about what she could do with it. The businesses she could support. The entrepreneurs she could help. The legacy she could build. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. Dinner tonight? I have a question to ask you. Naomi smiled. She had a pretty good idea what the question might be. They'd been talking about the future lately. About partnership. About building something permanent together. And for the first time since Derek's betrayal, Naomi was ready. Ready to trust again. Ready to love again. Ready to build a future with someone who chose her every day. She'd survived the worst betrayal imaginable. She'd fought for justice and won. She'd protected her father's legacy and made it stronger. She'd built an empire and used it to help others. She'd transformed from a victim into a victor. From someone who was used and betrayed into someone who was strong and successful and purposeful. Her father used to say that business was like a phoenix. You could burn down, lose everything, and if you were strong enough, you'd rise from the ashes even stronger than before. Naomi had been burned. By betrayal, by grief, by loss. But she'd risen. Stronger. Wiser. More powerful than ever. She was her father's daughter. She was Richard Patterson's legacy. And she was just getting started. That evening, Adrian took her to the restaurant where they'd first met professionally, the coffee shop where she'd hired him as her private investigator. It had been transformed now, but they'd requested the same corner table. 2 years ago, you came to me broken and scared, Adrian said, holding her hands across the table. You just discovered your husband was betraying you. Your stepmother was conspiring against you. You didn't know who to trust or what to do. You helped me through it. You believed in me. No, you helped yourself. I just provided information. You made the hard choices. You fought the battles. You won. We won. Together. Adrian smiled. Together. I like that word. He pulled out a small velvet box and opened it. Inside was a simple, elegant ring. Naomi Patterson, you're the strongest, smartest, most remarkable person I've ever met. You've built an empire, fought for justice, and changed lives. But more than that, you've shown me what real love looks like. Not the kind based on money or status, but the kind based on respect and trust and choice. I choose you. Every day I choose you. Will you choose me? Will you marry me? Naomi felt tears streaming down her face. Happy tears. Healing tears. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll marry you. They kissed as the restaurant erupted in applause. Adrian had arranged for friends to be there, people who'd supported Naomi through everything. Frank and Patricia, Thomas, Jerome, employees from all three companies. Her chosen family. The people who'd stood by her. As Naomi looked around at the celebrating crowd, then at Adrian, then at the ring on her finger, she felt complete. Oh, ill. Derek and Constance had tried to destroy her. They'd betrayed her, stolen from her, murdered her father, and conspired to take everything. But they'd failed. She'd survived. More than survived. She'd thrived. And now, finally, she had everything that mattered. Love, purpose, success, justice, peace. Her father would be so proud. No, her father was proud. She could feel it. In the companies that bore his name. In the foundation that honored his memory. In the entrepreneurs she helped who reminded her of his early days. His legacy lived on. Through her. Through the empire they'd built together. And it always would. Because she was Richard Patterson's daughter. And nothing, not betrayal, not conspiracy, not even death, could take that away from her. She'd won. Completely and absolutely won. And her new life, her real life, was just beginning.